Intro, word for word precision and impact. Welcome to Truth Uncovered. Today, I want you to forget everything you think you know about solitude, about stillness, about what it means for a man to walk through life alone. Because this is not a story about loneliness. It's a story about power, quiet power. Power that doesn't beg to be seen, but that grows in the shadows when no one's watching. You wake up, no texts, no calls, no notifications fighting for your attention, just silence, just you. That silence. It doesn't feel peaceful at first, it feels foreign. It sits in your chest, heavy and unsettling. A quiet so loud it makes you question your place in the world. You're not aching for a woman. You're not even aching for attention. You're aching for proof. Proof that you still matter. And that's when it begins. That whisper in the back of your mind, the doubt, the urge to reach for your phone, to text someone you shouldn't, to scroll endlessly through images and empty words, all just to feel connected. Because the world has conditioned you to believe that silence means failure, that if no one's reaching out, then you're falling behind, that your worth is measured in notifications, invitations, and the gaze of someone else. But what if the silence isn't a void? What if it's a mirror? What if it's not punishment, but invitation? Because here's the hidden truth. The man who can sit in stillness and not flinch becomes unstoppable. The man who chooses to walk alone not because he has to, but because he wants to. He isn't lonely. He's becoming lethal. 1. The fear of silence. The path most men avoid. Let's start with the hardest pill to swallow. Most men aren't afraid of being alone. They're afraid of what the silence reveals. In a world addicted to noise, to stimulation, to commentary, to someone always having something to say, stillness becomes a threat. Sit in a dark room. No TV, no phone, no music, no one to distract you. Just your breath, just your thoughts. And then it starts. The memories, the regrets, the missed chances, the promises you made to yourself but never kept. They crawl out from the corners of your mind, uninvited, unfiltered. That woman you let walk away, the job you didn't fight for, the version of you that you said you'd become, but abandoned the moment it got hard. You try to distract yourself, but there's nowhere to go, no one to pretend for, no game to play, just you. And the truth. That's why most men never sit still. That's why they bounce from woman to woman, job to job, dopamine hit to dopamine hit. Not to find something, but to escape something. Not her, not them, themselves. But here's the paradox. Silence doesn't destroy you. It strips you. It tears away everything fake, the ego, the masks, the performance. And when it does, you either crumble or you rise. At first, it hurts. The silence mocks you. It amplifies every insecurity you've buried under distraction. You're not enough. You're invisible. You'll never matter. But here's the secret. If you don't run, if you stay, if you breathe, if you endure the noise of your own mind long enough, it begins to settle. And in that stillness, something else rises. Not shame, not fear, but clarity. A calm knowing that you are not your mistakes, not your past, not your failures. You're the man who stayed. You're the man who didn't run when it got uncomfortable. That's rare, that's dangerous, that's real masculine power. Not built in gyms, not found in books, not learned from influencers and self-help gurus. It begins with this, sitting in the fire of your own mind and not looking away. 2. Approval detox, from needing attention to owning presence. Here's something most men won't admit. We are addicted to approval. We don't even realize it. It's not alcohol, not drugs, not gambling. It's validation. You wake up and check your phone before you even get out of bed. Not because you need information, but because you need affirmation. Did she text back? Did they like my story? Did anyone notice me? It seems harmless, but it's a silent killer. It trains your brain to crave recognition instead of truth, to seek applause instead of integrity. And worst of all, it makes you a slave to performance. You nod when you should speak up. You laugh when something isn't funny. You say yes when every part of you screams no, because rejection terrifies you more than regret. And little by little, you trade your authenticity for acceptance. You become the version of yourself the world claps for. Not the man you're meant to be. But here's the brutal truth. Approval is a drug. It hits quick and fades even quicker. You get the text, the like, the compliment. It lights you up. Then it's gone. And you need more. Until one day, you burn out. Not from working too hard, but from performing too long. You're exhausted because you've been acting, wearing a mask every damn day. But there is another way. It starts with detox. You stop chasing applause. You stop filtering your truth. You ask one question. Am I doing this because I believe in it? Or because I want to be liked? That question alone, it'll change your life. Suddenly you stop shaping your words to fit the room. You stop giving your time to people who drain it. You stop texting just to stay relevant. And something incredible happens. Your voice returns. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. You say less, but it hits harder. You stop needing attention because you carry attention. People notice. They can't explain it. But something in you feels rooted now. You're not trying to be seen. You are seen because you're finally aligned. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing people, they start chasing you. The rise of inner discipline. There's a kind of power that doesn't come from lifting weights or reading books or making money. It comes from discipline. But not the kind that's imposed by a schedule, a coach, or a boss. I'm talking about the discipline forged in solitude, the discipline that emerges when you become your own enforcer. When a man is alone, truly alone, no one is watching. There's no reward for doing the hard thing, no applause, no pat on the back. And that's exactly where the growth begins. You wake up and decide to move, even when no one will notice. You put the phone down and choose focus. Even though you could binge your time away without consequence, you commit to goals, not because someone else told you to, but because you told yourself you would. This self-directed discipline is rare. Most people need pressure to move. But the man who disciplines himself, who trains his body, sharpens his mind, and sets standards even in solitude, that man becomes unstoppable. Because once you realize that you are the only authority you need, no one can manipulate you. Not with attention, not with approval, not with temptation. Discipline isn't just about routines or habits. It's about loyalty. Loyalty to the man you say you want to be. And here's the thing. In solitude, there's no one to lie to. No one to pretend for. Your promises echo louder because there's no background noise. It's you and your word. And how consistently you show up for that word determines your power. That's the kind of discipline that separates boys from men. Boys need to be motivated. Men move regardless. And in a world full of noise, excuses, and distractions, a man who keeps his promises to himself becomes a force of nature. 5. Emotional fortitude, the hidden armor. Let's talk about something most men are afraid to admit. Emotional pain. We've been told that pain is weakness. That showing emotion makes you soft. But that's not Stoicism. That's suppression. Real Stoicism, the kind that turns men into mountains, isn't about avoiding emotions. It's about facing them head-on, feeling them fully, and not letting them control your actions. Solitude has a way of bringing up old wounds. It forces you to confront the pain you've numbed with distractions for years. That heartbreak you never processed. That rejection that quietly shaped your self-worth. That shame from a failure you never forgave yourself for. When you're alone, it all surfaces. But here's where the transformation happens. You don't run. You sit in it. You let the emotions crash. You breathe through them. You stop pretending you're fine. And in that confrontation, you discover a resilience you didn't know you had. Most men crumble because they avoid the inner work. But the man who processes his emotions, who owns his story, who lets the pain teach instead of paralyze, he becomes bulletproof. Why? Because he's no longer driven by fear or shame. He's not reacting from unresolved trauma. He's moving from clarity and power. Emotional fortitude isn't about being stoic-faced. It's about emotional integrity. It's knowing your triggers and not being ruled by them. It's having the courage to feel and the strength to not be broken by the feeling. This is the armor that no one sees. But when you wear it, people feel it. You walk into a room and your energy says, "I've faced myself and I survived." That's rare. That's magnetic. And that's what makes a man unforgettable. 6. Mastering your time, from wasting to investing. Here's a brutal truth. Most men waste their time trying to escape their lives. They binge, they scroll, they swipe, they chase cheap dopamine because they haven't built a life they're excited to wake up to. But when you're alone long enough, truly alone, you start to feel every hour, every minute, and you realize something crucial. Time is your only non-renewable asset. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose people and meet new ones. But you'll never get back this hour, this day, this year. So you have a choice: waste it or invest it. Solitude reveals how you spend your time, and it forces you to audit your life. What apps steal your hours? What habits drain your energy? What commitments feel like a slow death? And then comes the most important question. What would happen if you cut the dead weight? Men who master solitude learn to master their time. They build routines not because it's trendy, but because it's sacred. They move with intention. Their calendar reflects their values. Their mornings are battles won before the world wakes up. Time when you're alone becomes a mirror. And when you start to guard it like your life depends on it, because it does, everything changes. You stop being busy and start being productive. You stop living on accident and start living on purpose. 7. Reconnecting with vision. When you're constantly around people, scrolling, comparing, performing, you start to forget your original vision, the fire you had as a kid, the ambition you buried under adult responsibilities. But solitude has a way of reigniting that flame. When the noise fades, your desires surface. Not the ones you picked up from Instagram. The real ones. The ones that kept you up at night when you were younger. The goals that scared you. The ideas that felt too big. In stillness, those dreams return. And for the first time in a long time, you can hear them clearly. You start thinking legacy, not likes. Impact, not impressions. Purpose, not popularity. Solitude gives you back your imagination. It lets you dream again, plan again, believe again. You're no longer reacting to life, you're designing it. And from that place of vision, every step becomes deliberate. Your actions align, your path sharpens, and you start to build not just a career or a lifestyle, but a legacy. 8. The magnetic pull of wholeness. There's something paradoxical that happens when a man chooses to walk alone, not because he has to, but because he wants to. He becomes magnetic. Why? Because most people are chasing wholeness through others. They're searching for someone to complete them. But a man who completes himself, who needs no one but chooses selectively, that man becomes rare. Women notice. People notice. Opportunities find him, not because he's trying to attract them, but because wholeness is irresistible. This is the irony. The longer a man is single, truly single, not distracted or desperate, but focused, the more attractive he becomes. Not just romantically, but energetically, because he radiates something most don't have: self-respect, self-control, and a deep-rooted peace. He's not chasing, he's becoming. And the world naturally follows. 9. The shift from scarcity to abundance. Solitude teaches you that you're already enough, that you don't need constant attention to feel valuable, that you don't need someone else to validate your existence, that your worth isn't dependent on anyone's presence or absence. This is abundance, not of things, but of self. When you realize that everything you are searching for in others already lives inside of you, you stop operating from lack. You no longer settle. You no longer beg. You no longer mold yourself into who people want you to be just to be liked. Instead, you live from overflow. You give without needing to get. You love without needing to be loved back. You walk into rooms with confidence, not arrogance, because you're not trying to take anything. You've already filled your cup. That's the energy of a man who's spent time alone and used that time wisely. That's abundance, and it changes everything. Final words. Most men fear being alone, but the ones who don't, the ones who embrace it, who let it refine them, sharpen them, and rebuild them from the inside out, those are the men who become unstoppable. Because solitude doesn't break real men. It reveals them. And when the world finally sees who you've become in that quiet, invisible war you fought behind closed doors, it won't just respect you, it will follow you. So if you're in a season of isolation, don't fight it. Use it. Let it mold you into the kind of man who doesn't chase love, attention, or approval because he already holds everything he needs within. And when you're finally ready to step back into the world, you won't come back the same man. You'll return as the storm. Until next time, stay grounded, stay dangerous, and always seek the truth uncovered. The truth